Hello and welcome. You're watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. 5 Nigerian Air Force pilots have been killed after their fighter jet crashed in the northeastern Borno state. Air Force spokesman Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola says the jet crashed late on Wednesday while providing close air support to troops of 145 Battalion at Damasak in northern Borno state. News of the crash came hours after Daramola announced the Air Force has destroyed a building being used as a meeting venue by Boko Haram fighters near Baga, still in Borno. The Air Force provides air support to ground troops in the operations against the insurgents in the northeast. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has visited troops in Maiduguri to express his condolences. The Nigerian police have denied a trending video circulating on social media showing a protest of about 2,000 Mopol undergoing training for Boko Haram in the northeast. The police spokesman, Jimoh Moshood, says the personnel have all successfully passed out from training. He also says that they have been deployed more than a week ago to the front line along the military in the 3 states of Borno, Yobe and Adamawa and are doing well in the operations. Moshood says the video was mischievously doctored and circulated to mislead the public and cause disaffection. He, however, urged the public to discountenance the video as untrue, mischievous and fake news. The Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari says he's ready to vacate office if that's what is required to restore peace and security to the state. Zamfara has been bedeviled by armed bandits who kill villagers and also abduct some for ransom. There have also been calls for an imposition of a full state of emergency, similar to the one imposed by former President Olusegun Obasanjo in Plateau State. Yari last week said he is in support of a declaration of a state of emergency in his state. Speaking with State House correspondents on Thursday after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, Yari says he's not being political and is ready to step down because it involves human lives.
There's no any territory where they say the bandits are occupying. They're in the forest. But what they did, the problem what I share with the president, there's instruction given by the president that any policeman who spent more than 3 years in the state should be transferred. Unfortunately, when those who are transferred, they are not replaced. So out of 230 districts or 147 elective wards, which is hate of about more than 10, 20,000 people exists, it's only in 23 that we have the outforce of police. So you can understand a number of places where there's no presence of security. And these people, they're aware. And that's at the areas that they hit. Wherever there's a police or there's a security present, hardly for them to get there. Because they're equal, they know they're equal to them. So, but they just got in the area that they know there's no any presence of security. So we have issues like that. So, which I explained to the president that we need the attention of IG so that the number that were reduced in the name of transfer, that should be replaced so that at least we can have the presence of security agencies in this place where they exist before, so that I think the opportunity getting by those bandits can reduce to a minimum.
The Zamfara crisis is just one of the many security issues affecting the country in the past year. This next report details the country's battle with insecurity in 2018 and the government's efforts to curtail it. In 2009, Africa's most populous nation experienced the first episode of a bloodthirsty war that would decimate over 20,000 people, set back our development, threaten the security of the West African region, and last for nearly a decade. It was the war against terrorism. 2018 marks the 9th year of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria. On January 2nd, 2018, The leader of a Boko Haram faction, led by Abubakar Shekau, released a video detailing their terrorist activities in Nigeria in the past year. This was contrary to statements from President Muhammadu Buhari a day before, which assured that Nigeria had beaten Boko Haram.
I must reassure my fellow citizens that security of life and property is still top of our government's agenda. We have since beaten Boko Haram. Isolated attacks still occur, but even the best policed countries cannot prevent determined criminals from committing terrible acts of terror, as we have seen during the first years in Europe, Asia, Middle East, elsewhere in Africa and America. Our government remains determined to protect all Nigerians in line with our election pledge and promises.
On February 19, 2018, Boko Haram executed an audacious plan. Insurgents marched into Government Girls Science and Technology College in Dapchi Yobe State, northeast Nigeria, and kidnapped 110 schoolgirls aged 11 to 19. The brazen incident was reminiscent of the April 2014 abduction of 276 schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State. But the girls would not last long with the abductors. After spending 28 days in captivity, the Nigerian government struck a deal with the terrorists and negotiated their release. But only 104 of them were returned on March 21, 2018. 5 died in transit, while one, Leah Sharibu, was not released by the sect for refusing to renounce her Christian faith.
The federal government, with the aid of some very friendly countries, embarked on back-channel negotiations. These back-channel negotiations has led to the release of these girls.
While Boko Haram continued to terrorize the country with suicide bombers, another security challenge was brewing. Farmers and herders in the country began a crisis over grazing land, inflaming tensions in the north-central of the country and displacing hundreds. An Amnesty International report disclosed that 3,641 people were killed between January 2016 and October 2018, 57% of them in 2018 alone, as a result of the crisis. The Nigerian government and the military became embroiled in a two-front conflict: the Boko Haram insurgency and the herders-farmers clashes. Residents of Borno, Yobe, Zamfara, Benue, Plateau, Edo, Nasarawa and Taraba states were worst affected.
Pure military engagements cannot provide sustainable solution to these new threats given the nature of their complexity and root causes, particularly as noted by distinguished military strategists. Therefore, the starting point for realizing the above requires the military to have an excellent understanding of how asymmetric security challenges and conflict mutate from later stage to violence.
On a sullen night on April 21st, 3 soldiers and 2 members of the Civilian Joint Task Force lost their lives in a shootout with Boko Haram terrorists. Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, then Director of Army Public Relations, confirmed the incident, noting that 3 members of the Boko Haram terrorists were neutralized in the April 21st attack. A month later, in May, the Nigerian Army announced that it had rescued over 1,000 Boko Haram hostages in different parts of Borno State. In June, not less than 130 people were killed in 11 separate attacks in northeast Nigeria. Boko Haram would later change strategy, focusing more on military targets. On July 15, 2018, the Boko Haram faction, led by Abu Musab al-Banawi, calling itself the Islamic State in West Africa Province, ISWAP, overran a Nigerian army base in the northeastern part of the country. The terrorists and the army exchanged gunfire for over an hour, and many Nigerian soldiers went missing after that attack. A United Nations report released in August noted that Nigeria's cash economy was fueling Boko Haram's activities in Nigeria and the Lake Chad Basin region. The report also alleged that the Nigerian government paid ransom to Boko Haram for the release of the Dapchi schoolgirls. The government denied the claims. In September 2018, the Nigerian military recorded major victories. Troops of Operation Lafia Doli rescued a combined number of 127 hostages in 2 separate operations, killing some terrorists in the process. But the fourth quarter of 2018 was the toughest period yet for the Nigerian military. On October 16, 2018, Boko Haram audaciously murdered Hawa Liman on camera. Hawa was a 24-year-old aid worker and a staff of the International Committee of the Red Cross who was volunteering to help the displaced in the northeast. Her murder sparked international outrage.
Protection of such people that want to sacrifice their life, want to volunteer service in troubled areas must be followed, and government security agencies working in all those areas must know that it is key and necessary to protect such persons. And wherever those persons are held in while they are giving service must be adequately protected.
In December, Baga became the latest town to come into the limelight, and not for the right reasons. For 3 days since December 26th, Boko Haram terrorists battled with the Nigerian army for control of the fishing town in Borno State. And despite speculations that the terrorists gained the upper hand, the army in a statement noted that Boko Haram lost Baga and many of their members. 2018 was radically different from the 8 years before it in terms of security. It's difficult to tell what 2019 holds, but it doesn't look like the Boko Haram insurgency will be completely wiped off anytime soon. Annetta Felix, TV360, Lagos. A federal high court in Abuja has refused a request by controversial Senator Dino Melaye to order police officers out of his residence and desist from further attempts at arresting him. The senator representing Kogi West had approached the court after the police officers laid a siege to his residence, following allegations by the senator that the police planned to poison him. He also asked the court to stop the police from acting in a manner threatening to his life. The request represented as ex parte applications after Melaye asked the court for enforcement of his fundamental rights in the same court. An ex parte application could have allowed the judge to grant the order without hearing from the police. In a ruling on the ex parte application on Thursday, Justice N.E. Maha refused the application, but ruled that the substantive matter be granted accelerated hearing. The appeal court in Abuja has adjourned till Tuesday, January 15th, the appeal filed by former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, against his former Minister of Information, Jerry Gana, over the presidential ticket of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Donald Duke is appealing the judgment of the lower court, who ruled that Jerry Gana is the authentic candidate of the party, after the name of Donald Duke had earlier been submitted to INEC by the SDP.
This matter is going to come up for hearing on the 15th of January, that's Tuesday, 2019, for the main appeal. And I think that is important because we're anxious to have this appeal heard. We're also aware that Nigerians, SDP, are also anxious to know who their candidate is. God willing, on the 15th of this month, Tuesday, we'll take the appeal, and that is all.
We are very satisfied with today's proceeding. Like we told you, the matter was adjourned for report of service. Service has been reported, and the court has asked that all parties put in their papers, and that is okay for us. So we are very satisfied with today's transaction today in the court.
The Buhari campaign group has called out the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, to concede defeat and endorse the candidacy of President Muhammadu Buhari. The president of the group, Festus Keyamo, in a statement said the widely published refutal by investors in Etisalat and Keystone Bank that the family members of President Buhari have nothing to do with both companies is another indication of the fast collapsing campaign of the presidential candidates of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and that of the PDP. Keyamo says the result of the fact check, which was published in some news outlets, clearly shows the depth of desperation, deceit and debauchery to which the Atiku campaign had sunk. He also says the PDP presidential candidate had decided to go wild with unsubstantiated allegations against the president and vice president, throwing caution to the wind in the process. He said the vice presidential candidate of the PDP, Peter Obi, was reading out false statistics with a straight face throughout the vice presidential debate and is yet to apologize to Nigerians. In the Lagos State governorship race, the aspiration of the candidate of the All Progressives Congress has received another boost. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has received the backing of the Oduduwa People's Congress. He received their public support after a brief ceremony held in the southwestern state on Thursday.
It is a thing of joy and great achievement for OPC that our late Dr. Frederick Ishiutan Fashion has resolved to put their differences aside with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to work together for the common interest of Yoruba race and the whole Southwest. It is sad that Baba has passed away when we are about to solidify the final agreement with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It shall be dedicated that all the OPC members to ensure the victory for APC in the entire Southwest, and it shall be.
I want to implore everybody here, especially the OPC members that has come to voluntarily support our symbol, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and also the president of our great country. We want to thank you for your support, and we believe in you because you are a formidable cultural group in Nigeria. We seek for your support in the next coming election. That with you behind us, we are going to achieve that freedom that we are all yearning for.
You're still watching News Now on TV360 Nigeria. We'll be right back with more. Just stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
You're welcome back, and we'll now turn to Fidelia Aguncha for the latest in business. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Annetta.
So what's making headlines today in business?
Well, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiku, says the federal government has generated over $2 billion from the renewal of oil block licenses. The former group managing director of the NNPC says the fund will be used to implement the nation's budget. The minister says his ministry deliberately put a policy in place to hasten renewals and generate enough funds for the budget. He notes that only about 30 of the fields expected to add about 300 million barrels of crude were granted licenses by the Department of Petroleum Resources. Kachiku added that about 40 others, as well as mega fields suggested to President Buhari, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum, were awaiting approval. Oil prices fell by 1 to 2% on Thursday amid volatile currency and stock markets and concerns that an economic slowdown in 2019 will cut into fuel demand just as crude supplies are surging. U.S. crude oil futures are at $45.53 a barrel, while international Brent crude futures are at $54.15 a barrel. In physical oil market, top exporter Saudi Arabia is expected to cut February prices for heavier crude grades sold to Asia by up to 50% or 50 cents a barrel due to weaker fuel oil margins. U.S. crude production stood at a record of 11.7 million barrels per day in late 2018, making America the world's biggest oil producer in the world. Let's now look at activities on the stock market after this. Welcome back. Well, after a 1.15% drop in key market indicators on the first day of trading for the year, the NSE today further declined by 0.96%, pushing the all-share index down by 300 points and the market capitalization to 11.474 trillion naira, which is a drop of over 240 billion in the past 2 days. Well, to the gainers chart right here, closing with a 0.64% rise, the oil and gas index fared best in the market, with Forte Oil leading the pack of gainers. The renewed interest of investors in this equity can be attributed to two reasons, the first being how low the share price of this low-cap equity has fallen and the boost in Nigeria's oil production level as Total begins production at its Egina oil field, which is expected to produce about 200,000 barrels of oil daily. Well, unlike Julius Berger, which topped this chart yesterday, Union Bank Nigeria PLC is making its first entry on the gainers chart as demand for this equity outweighed supply, causing a price hike of 45 kobo, and Nigeria Brewers is recovering from yesterday's downtrend with a 4 kobo boost in its share price. Well, moving on to the flip side, that is the losers chart right here. Stanbic IBTC leads the pack of losers, dropping by almost 2 naira. It is closely followed by Guarantee Trust Bank. Now, the drop in these banking equities comes barely 24 hours actually after financial analyst Bismarck Rewani advised investors to spend on these equities, citing strong financial background among others. Well, coming in fourth on the chart is Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, dropping by 95 kobo, and this most definitely is as a result of activities of profit takers who sold off most of their stocks and shares of this stock, which was the best performing equity in 2019 at the Nigeria Stock Exchange. And up next is the global stock, and on the foreign scene, the Dow, FTSE and Nikkei all closed in the negative territory as oil prices continue to fall. The U.S. Stock Exchange took the biggest hit as uncertainty continued to hover over the economy amid a government shutdown which has lasted for 2 weeks and counting. Well, also the shocking drop in Apple stocks was a major contributing factor to the drop in the Dow and the drop seen in the FTSE. Well, the Nikkei opened trading for 2019 today, and it is closing in the negative territory, dropping by 0.31%. Well, that is on business. It's back to Annetta.
And thank you for that, Fidelia. And what a way to start the year. All markets, having the bears dominating. Well, let's see how the rest of the week will turn out, and hopefully the rest of the year.
Yeah, let's see, because it's also closed in the reds yesterday, and it's even closed the year in the reds. So really, we are just keeping our fingers crossed to see how 2019 will fare for investors at the stock exchange globally.
Thank you once again. So we'll take a break now, and we'll return shortly. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
What do I want buy?
Potato. Small baskets. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, now the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy them. Make her show you something. What? What's in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical what they put on for the plantain make her ripe up.
So you dey put chemical for plantain where people go chop?
Now water, no be chemical.
Water. You know say Pela, I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink them.
Where you collect that water, drink them.
I just stop finish. See my belly. It don't big. I just stop drink water finish.
Wait, you drink them now. At the sell plantain, I go come put on for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That's why I talk now corruption. Corruption, not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take
corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
The government of Nigeria says the army has killed more than 280 Boko Haram militants in days of land and air raids near the border with Nigeria. The Defense Ministry says most of the Islamist militants had died in the airstrikes. The army says the troops had also covered rocket launchers, assault weapons, and ammunition during an offensive on islands in Lake Chad along the Komadogo-Yobe River. Nigeria has recently expressed concerns about setbacks at the hands of Boko Haram suffered by Nigeria, where the jihadist insurgency began 10 years ago. As a post-election ban on the internet enters its fourth day in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the government has called the shutdown a necessary step against the spread of unofficial results. The Minister of Information, Lambert Mende, summons professionals who work in communications, both nationals and foreigners, to resist the temptation to broadcast results, adding that this could sensationalize and intentionally skew results. Mende says, however, that the government would consider a request from civil society to restore the internet. Provisional results are officially expected on January 6th, but the Electoral Commission now says there could be a delay. The death toll of a New Year's Eve gas explosion in Russia has risen to 37, with 4 people still missing. The gas explosion caused the Russian apartment block to partially collapse. The Emergency Situations Ministry says that 6 children were among the dead, while 6 people had been rescued from the rubble of the building in the Ural mountain city of Magnitogorsk. The bodies of 22 of the 37 dead has been identified. The blast in the early hours of Tuesday damaged 48 apartments in the 10-story Soviet-era building that was home to about 1,100 people. In sports, Premier League rivals Manchester City and Liverpool will go head-to-head at the Etihad Stadium in a title showdown clash. Pep Guardiola's men have slipped to 7 points adrift of first place after a run of 3 defeats in 5 league matches, casting doubts on their ability to retain the title they won with Sochi's last campaign. Midfielder Kevin De Bruyne is a doubt for Manchester City, and the influential Belgium international, who missed Sunday's victory over Southampton with a muscle injury, could be sidelined again. Liverpool's vice-captain James Milner is in contention to return for the league leaders after a minor muscular injury ruled the former England international out of the Boxing Day win over Newcastle. The Merseyside club is yet to suffer a defeat in 20 games and will be hoping to increase the advantage over the reigning champions to 10 points with a win. Manchester United caretaker manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he does not want to leave his role at the club in the summer. He was named as interim boss after the club sacked Jose Mourinho in December. His side's 2-0 win at Newcastle on Wednesday meant he became the second manager in the club's history to win his first 4 league games in charge, emulating Sam Matt Busby in 1946. The 45-year-old took up the position after being given permission by Molde, although the club in his native Norway stressed they were only lending Solskjaer to United, indicating they expected him to return to his role as manager. Thanks for watching News Now. I am Annetta Felix. Bye for now.